Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's from Canto 2, The Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 5, The Cause of All Causes. And this morning we're doing texts 35 and 36. So I'll chant text 35 first and then go to 36 and we can do 36 together. That is, those who are interested in chanting the text also can chant text 36. All right. So without further ado, we'll start the class. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Vihari, Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadari, Gopi Janavallabha Girivadadari, Yashodanandana Prajajanarandana Yashodanandana Prajajanarandana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Vihari Gopi Vallabha Girivadhatari Yashodanandana Prajajanarandana Yashodanandana Prajajanarandana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari 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 Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Privajagacharya Stotar Satyasisi Maharaj Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramhansa Privajagacharya Stotar Satyasisi Maharaj Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananti Koti Vaishnavinni Ki Jai Nama Acharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय वृंदावन धाम की जय मथुरा धाम की जय नवद्वीप धाम की जय जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय जगन्नाथ स्वामी की जय गंगा माई की जय जमुना माई की जय तुलसी देवी की जय भक्ति देवी की जय हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय सामवेद भक्त बिंद की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदी हरि हरि बोल all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga Prabhupada Prabhupada Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Nityanand. Namaste Krishna Paraya Prabhupada Chitatmani. Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha. Narayana Namaskritya Narum Chaivam Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Vajirayat Nasya Prayesu Apatresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhavatu Tamastoke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 5, and Text 35. Sa eva purushastasmad andam nibidya nirgata Sahasrorangri Bahuaksha Sahasrana Nasir Savan. Word for word translation. Sa, he, the Lord. Eva, himself. Purusha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tasmat, from within the universe. Andam, Hiranyagarbha. Nividya, dividing. Nirgata came out. Sahasra, thousands. Uru, thighs. Angri, legs. Bahu, arms. Aksha, eyes. Sahasru, Sahasra, thousands of. Ananam, mouths. She is Shavan with heads also. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The Lord Mahavishnu, although lying in the causal ocean, came out of it and dividing himself as Hiranyagarbha, he entered into each universe and assumed the Virat Rupa with thousands of legs, arms, mouths, heads, etc. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The expansions of the planetary systems within each and every universe are situated in the different parts of the Virat Rupa, universal form of the Lord, and they are described as follows. Text 36. And after this one, you can chant if you want to. Yashi Havaya Velokan Kalpayanti Manishina Katya Adibir Adat Katya Dibir Ada Sapta Saptorvam Jaganadibi Yashi Havaya Velokan Kalpayanti Manishina Katya Divi Ada Sapta sorry. Saptodvam Jaganadivi Yashe Havaya Velokan Kalpayanti Manishina Katya Divi Ada Sapta Saptodvam Jaganadivi. Hare Krishna. You can chant it.
Yasehaivaaya Varlokan Kalpayanti Manishina Katya Adhibir Adhasapta Saptodhvam Jaganadibhi. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
यस्येहायविर्लोकान् कल्पयन्ति मनीषिणः कट्यादिभिरधाशप्त सप्तोर्ध्वं जगनाधिभिः हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else?
Yashe Havaya Virlokan Kalpayanti Manishina Katya Devirata Sapta Sapturvam Jaganadevi.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else? All right. Word for word. Yasya, whose? Iha, in the universe. Avayave, by the limbs of the body. Lokan, all the planets. Kalpayanti, imagine. Manishina, great philosophers. Kati Adivi, down from the waist. Ada, downwards. Sapta, 7 systems. Sapta Udvam, and 7 systems upwards. Jagana Hadivi, front portion. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Great philosophers imagine that the complete planetary systems in the universe are displays of the different upper and lower limbs of the universal body of the Lord. Purport. The word kalpayanti, or imagine, is significant. The Virat universal form of the absolute truth of the absolute is an imagination of the speculative philosophers who are unable to adjust to the eternal 200 form of Sri Krishna. Although the universal form as imagined by the great philosophers is one of the features of the Lord, it is more or less imaginary. It is said that in the 7 upper planetary systems, the 7 upper planetary systems are situated above the waist of the universal form, whereas the lower planetary systems are situated below his waist. The idea impressed herein is that the Supreme Lord is conscious of every part of his body, and nowhere in the creation is there anything beyond his control. Oma Gyanati Virandasya Gyana Gyana Shalakaya Chakshu Amritam Dina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Dina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Vedanti Swapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Sunivadi Paschatyari Shatarini. Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gvatishe Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. So, text 35, the English translation is, the Lord Mahavishnu, although lying in the causal ocean, came out of it, and dividing himself as Hiranyagarbha, he entered into each universe and assumed the Virat Rupa with thousands of legs, arms, mouths, heads, etc. Text 36, English translation. Great philosophers imagine that the complete planetary systems in the universe are displays of the different upper and lower limbs of the universal body of the Lord. So this is the Virat Rupa being described here, and how we see in text 36 how other people, not necessarily devotees, view that, the Virat Rupa. But in a purport in text 36, as Srila Prabhupada will put things in perspective, he'll say that there's a part of this whole thing is imaginary, but it also has very significant, it's a very significant aspect of it in the creation for Lord Brahma himself. And we'll get to that later. So from text 35, the Lord is Mahavishnu. So who is Mahavishnu? He is the one who, through whom the Mahatattva, the ingredients for the material creation, as well as a covering of that, come to be. It's created by Mahavishnu. So those in the spiritual world now see a cloud in the spiritual sky. That's the Mahatattva, the covering. It also has the ingredients for the material creation. The Lord is lying on the causal ocean, which is from him also. Of course, everything comes from the Lord. But as it says here in this translation, he came out of it and expanded himself as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, whose other name is Hiranyagarbha. So he entered into each universe. First, the universes came out of the pores of Mahavishnu. That's how the universes came to be in this material world. And for each universe, the Lord, as Mahavishnu, expands himself and then enters into each universe. So every universe, and there are billions of them, has one Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. He also expands himself to the Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, who is in the heart of every living entity, and in every atom also. And in that way, he's everywhere. So it's said in some part of the Shastra that we are one of the many, many insignificant parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In our heart is the soul, the real person, the real living entity, the living force that gives consciousness. That's for every living entity. And also the super soul is there. So for the body, the super soul is called Paramatma, and that's from Shirodakshaya Vishnu. Sometimes the universes are also described with Lord Vishnu being the super soul for that. Lord Garbhodakshaya Vishnu being the super soul for that. In other words, in each universe, the soul of the universe is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Or Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is with the soul, that's what I meant to say, of each universe. And then for each living entity, the Paramatma, the super soul, or Shirodakshaya Vishnu is also with that particular living entity. So for us, there are soul in the heart and super soul also in the heart. The Lord is with us all the time. He actually is the one that permits us to do things. We cannot do anything on our own without his permission. There are 5 ingredients for doing anything, but the main ingredient or the main cause of it is in fact the the Shirodakshaya Vishnu, the super soul. So without being allowed by the super soul, we can't do anything. But the super soul also allows everything that we want to do to happen only because we have been given some independence, some free will. And so with that, then we can do whatever we plan to do, good or bad. But the Lord also warns us, especially if we're going to do something that's bad, through our intelligence, that there is going to be a reaction to the things that we do that's bad. He doesn't have to remind us about things that are good. More goodness things don't get that kind of warning. There doesn't need to be a warning for that. But the Lord is very pleased when we do things based on Krishna consciousness, because that is transcendental. And that means the soul is beginning to find a way out of the material world, because the material world is incarcerating. Anyway, in the purport for text 35, Srila Prabhupada says that the expansions of the planetary system within each and every universe are situated in the different parts of the Virat Rupa, the universal form. So there is a role that the universal form plays, even though it's been talked about as imaginary. For Lord Brahma, it's very, very important. Now, in text 36, Srila Prabhupada translates that great philosophers imagine the complete planetary systems, and there are 14 planetary systems for the universe we're in. The upper, medium, and also lower planets. So the philosophers who are connected with or pay more attention to the Virat Rupa, the universal form, they see as 2 basic divisions, 14, 7 in the upper part of the universal form, 7 in the lower part of the universal form. As it says here, the upper and lower limbs of the universal form. So the upper limbs for the heavenly planet, medium and heavenly planets. Medium and heavenly planets. Those are in the upper part of the universal form. And the lower planets are in the lower part of the universal form. So, Srila Prabhupada in the purport says the word kalpayanti, it means imagine. That's when he basically says that the absolute universal form, the absolute universal form is an imagination of philosophers who are speculating. Now, the reason they're doing it is because they're not able to perceive or connect with or even believe the two-handed form, the original form of Lord Sri Krishna. For them, they're looking at astrology, they're looking at planets, and to connect it with the Supreme, they look at some form, but based on the positions of the planet. And that's why they look at it as the universal form. This is the universal form of the Lord. This is how the philosophers, they talk about. So it is one of the features of the Lord, true enough. But we got to look at it in terms of it being imaginary because now for the Buddhists, it's where the planets are situated. The form that it may form, the form from the planets themselves, the planetary systems, may look in that form like a universal form, like a structure, for lack of a better word. Now, the part of it that is very significant to Lord Brahma is, and this is happening in Lord Brahma's day, every day. The nighttime he goes to sleep, just like we do also. That when the nighttime happens, there's also destruction of part of the universe, of a significant part of the universe. 10 planetary systems are destroyed. And when Lord Brahma gets up, then those planetary systems are no longer there. And so he has to recreate. The ingredients for recreation are there, but the planetary system, the way he had them, that's gone. That's gone. And so he has to create. Now, this Virat Rupa becomes important for even Lord Brahma at that time. Because he has to create, and he doesn't, as the Shastra says, remember everything. He even talks about why that happens. So the Virat Rupa is a reminder for Lord Brahma to recreate in the morning when he gets up. That is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 2, Text 1. Sukadeva Goswami is describing to Maharaj Pariksit. It says, formerly, prior to the manifestation of the cosmos, Lord Brahma, by meditating on the Virat Rupa, regained his lost consciousness by appeasing the Lord. Then he was able to rebuild the creation as it was before. So this is referring to the morning when Lord Brahma gets up and the creation, part of it is gone. A major part of it has been destroyed. This is, again, on the Lord's own arrangement. Everything is done by his will. So Lord Brahma goes to sleep, and Lord Vishnu, through this, the arrangement is made, and Lord Shiva is involved in it. It's part of the planetary systems are gone. 10 planetary systems are gone. And then in the morning, he starts. But only after Lord Vishnu shows him the universal form, what it looks like, to jar his mind, and then he's able to, all right, these are the parts that we have to put together. Some of the heavenly planets, Swagaloka, Bhuvaloka, Bhuloka, we are in the Bhuloka planetary system. And then the 7 lower planetary systems, all the way down to Patalaloka. That gets created by the Lord. So the Lord's hands, legs, mouths, and are in every nook and cranny of his creation. There is no place that the Lord is not. In every atom, the Lord is there. And so when religionists usually are asked, where is God? They say, God is everywhere. How do you know? Well, God is everywhere. That's what I've been told. That, in a sense, if you believe it, that's all right. But this is proof. The reason why we say the Lord is everywhere is because in his features, Paramatma or Shirodakshai Vishnu, he is in every single atom. and the atoms are all over the universe. Therefore, the Lord is all over the universe in that form. Mm. And Lord Brahma is one who is taking charge or given charge of the universe. Now, this Lord Brahma that we have here, the four-headed Lord Brahma, for this universe that we're in, has got the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in many ways. He is obviously an assistant in the creation and management of affairs. Even the demigods come from him. They're created by him, by Lord Brahma. And so he has such a great responsibility, and he has actually been quite connected to service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that after his time comes for him to leave, that time, that will be his last body. He's going to Vaikuntha, the spiritual world, Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma is the personality whose sampradaya we follow, Brahma Guriya Sampradaya. Sampradaya, Srila Prabhupada describes in two ways. It's like a school, and sometimes it's described like a political party. That's closest thing to us. A political party has a particular ideology, what they want to do for the country that that particular party is in. So Sampradaya is in that sense a body of living entities, especially human living entities, that want to study or move towards a particular goal. And the rules and the regulations for that, it's all set. And so our sampradayas, where Srila Prabhupada is connected to, Lord Chaitanya is connected to, and our goal is to go back to Godhead, particularly to Goloka Vrindavan. Not every sampradaya, there are four sampradayas, so we are one of them. And not every sampradaya takes one to that particular planet. The sampradayas all are bona fide, and they will take you to, if you're in one of the other ones, you will, if you follow everything that's supposed to be done and do it seriously, you get the mercy of the Lord and go to a Vaikuntha planet. Golok Vrindavan particularly is not always made available, but it is now. So this is the chance that we have in order to go to Golok Vrindavan, which is the planet that has the greatest variety of relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The greatest variety. The rest of the Vaikuntha planets, the Lord is there as Narayan, and he is worshipped in awe and reverence, like a king and the servants. But in Golok Vrindavan, there are different types of relationships. You can be a servant. You can also serve in neutrality. But the other relationships are not in the other Vaikuntha planet. The other relationships in Golok Vrindavan, those of being a friend, friendship relationship, parental relationship, and conjugal relationship, that are found in the planet Golok Vrindavan only. It is also the biggest planet, and it is the farthermost planet. And that is the planet that Srila Prabhupada is preparing us to. So we are fortunate enough to be connected with the Sampradaya, with this particular personality that has come. He left in 1977. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, very much connected to Lord Chaitanya. And we are in his Sampradaya, getting ready to go to the planet that is the most versatile of all the planets in the spiritual world. That is our situation. So it's a very fortunate situation for us if we take it seriously. And then we look at the situation happening here in this planet, the planet Earth, Mother Bhumi. It is a precarious situation. It's a situation because of the Kali Yuga. People are not living a life much in the mode of goodness at all. There's more passion, and there's ignorance that's on the rise too. People are taking even things like dishonesty, they're taking it lightly. people lie and they don't really care. It's almost become like a way of life. That's what sometimes happens when our leaders do that, and the people think, oh, well, they're doing it, we can do it too, like that. And then it begins to spread. But actually, it's a mode of ignorance, and those who do that, dishonest people, there's actually a hellish planet for those who are dishonest. Towards to the end of the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we are in the second canto today. The fifth canto, towards the end, Shukadeva Goswami describes some of the planets and the punishment that is there, and the kind of sins or the kind of offenses that leads a person to that place. So it is not, that we just live life the way we like. To be very, very focused and grow in Krishna consciousness, it requires a certain number of things. There's 6 actually together. Srila Prabhupada has explained that one, we have to be enthusiastic. Krishna consciousness cannot be followed in a very docile kind of way. Krishna consciousness, there's so many parts of it that are so exciting that just by doing it, we will actually be enthusiastic. If we join in the kirtan, singing, dancing, that generates enthusiasm easily. It's a question of just being part of it. So enthusiasm is very important. And also, we have to be patient. Now, if we know about this Kali Yuga that we're living in, that's one thing people don't like to be about, and that is being patient. It's actually, the demonic activities are taking us the opposite way. People are actually impatient. You see it when they drive. Some people are very impatient, and we are just being force-fed this whole thing about everything has to be done quickly, quickly, quickly. The faster, the better. But actually, in Krishna consciousness, Krishna is the one that determines when things get done, and we are submitted to his will. And so it calls to reason, and it is just conclusive there that we have to wait for Krishna's activity, Krishna's will in the things that get done. And not everything will be done very quickly. So we have to have patience. So enthusiasm and patience are important, the first 2 of the 6. We also have to have firm conviction, very convinced that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Sri Krishna. In other words, we shouldn't let anybody try to change our mind about our belief. We should be firmly convinced that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is in fact Krishna, and his different expansions are responsible for spiritual and also the material worlds. The first expansion, Balaram, is actually responsible for the manifestation of the spiritual world. And then the one we talked about here in the text before, text 35, Mahavishnu is the one responsible for the material world, to start the material world. And then his expansions, carbon dioxide Vishnu and then Shirodaksai Vishnu, then things, the varieties come to be. We should be convinced of that, firm conviction. We also have to follow the rules and regulations. To be a devotee that is fixed up, sometimes we have challenges that come, and that will always be there. The reason why the challenges are there is that Maya wants us to not take this process lightly. If we want to come close to Krishna, then we have to be ready to do everything that is required, that's been explained by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita and also by his devotees and his own expansions in Srimad Bhagavatam. We must be prepared to do that. We must be prepared to do some tapasya. The devotee's life is not like, a non-devotee's life. So much so that even it's described in the scriptures that the time of awakening for the non-devotee, the time of awakening is when the devotee is asleep, and when the devotee is awake, the non-devotee is asleep. We can give a very simple example. The devotees that are fixed up, they will get up 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 4:30. Non-devotees are sleeping by that time. You wake up a non-devotee at 4 o'clock, that they will be upset with you. This is the best time of the day that I have to finish my sleep and you have disturbed it. That's the response you're going to get, something to that effect. Mm-hmm. So the lifestyle changes when we become devotees. And so we have to go through that regulations and the rules, our life, our lifestyle, our eating habits, even when we eat, what we eat, all of that changes based on what Krishna has said to do and what the rules for worshiping the Lord is. The rules for dealing with effects from the spiritual master and instructions from the spiritual master, all of those have to be taken into consideration. And so then the spiritual life, with its rules and regulations, become the major aspect of our lives. They become the major aspect of our lives. In our regular material life, which is practically everything to the non-devotee, that becomes a situation where we may spend the same time as a non-devotee by, work in terms of employment, and you work in the same company you're with some that are non-devotees. But the consciousness should be that we're doing what is necessary for us. Not important, necessary for us. It may be important to a non-devotee, but for a devotee, it's necessary. Why? Because we have to keep the body and soul together. But for us, the important things are those that are described in the Shastra and in the rules that are given and regulations that we have to abide by. Those are the important things for us. And the reason is those are the things that get us out of this material world back to the spiritual world. The non-devotee is not going anywhere out of this material world. At the end of their life, they're taking another body based on their desire and some of the things that they've done. 8,400,000 types of bodies, they will be given one of them. And they will go on in the material world with all the challenges that are here in the material world. And in Kali Yuga, it's getting worse. And for that, I remember there was a Bhakta John Favors. This is in the 70s. Mm-hmm. He came to Krishna consciousness. And he later on became a sannyasi and a guru, and he was the one that initiated me. But his legal name was John Favors. So at that time, he was new, he was a Bhakta. And I saw a video of a lecture by Srila Prabhupada where he was with the devotees in the congregation. And Srila Prabhupada finished the lecture and asked for questions. And Bhakta John raised his hand. And he asked about Kali Yuga. He wanted to be sure what he had heard. So he wanted Srila Prabhupada to explain a little bit more about the situation with Kali Yuga. So he said that, if I heard you correctly, you're saying, Srila Prabhupada, that we're 5,000 years into Kali Yuga. And the devotees repeated the question to him because Bhakti was a little farther away. Srila Prabhupada didn't hear it. And so the devotees repeated to him, those close to him, and he said, yes, that means there are 427,000 years left. And then he explained how life is going to get progressively worse, especially in the 11th and the 12th canto, I think it is. They tell you what's going to happen to our tax situation. People are going to be taxed so much that they won't be able to deal with it, and they will just drop out of the system that keeps tab of where they are, and they'll be living in the forest, just so they won't have to deal with the taxation. And we already know, we got to the point where electronically, the government can find out everything about you. They know more about us than we really realize already. So then we get keeping tabs on the people. Electronic advancement is giving a possibility for them to do that. So Whatever we got to pay, they know. It will get to a point where you cannot hide anything from the government. Mm-hmm. And the tax system, well, they tell us that, oh, this one says we're going to reduce taxes. We heard it every time there's a political campaign going on, but the taxes go up because Baba Thumb has already talked about it. In Kali Yuga, that's what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. This tax, that tax. The Prabhupada had a lecture, land tax, sales tax, this tax, property tax, on and on and on and on. So the ability of the business of the politicians is just to plunder. Mm-hmm. But that's what's going to be going on. So 5,000 years means 427,000 years of progressive degradation. Mm-hmm. Is what's going to happen in this particular yuga that we're in, Kali Yuga. So then Srila Prabhupada advised Bhakti John, who's now Bhakti Jeta Swami, actually he left his body in 2005. He was telling Bhakti John at that time, so if you know this is going to happen, now that you've heard it that way, why don't you take things seriously and leave this material world before it gets to that time? That is a good advice for all of us. Why don't we leave before it gets to that? Anybody that is in Krishna consciousness now, that doesn't try to go back home after this body, but comes back. Of course, whatever they did in this life, spiritual credits, that will not be erased, even if they take a new body. Chances are also very high that they will get a human body. But the fact is, the situation around us, we don't have much control. And who knows what's going to happen in the next life? And that's why Srila Prabhupada was advising Bhakti John, that became Bhakti Tirtha Swami. Get out now, as they say in America, while the going is good. Actually, it's not good, but we can say get out now while the going is not too bad because it's going to get worse. Mm-hmm. So the Virat Rupa, or the material world creation, is for us to actually frustrate us to the point where we would decide we got to leave. It is too difficult to live here. People whose eyes are open, they see that wealth is not, material wealth is not the solution to problems. Everybody thinks, oh, if I get rich, then everything will be all right. But a rich person will get sick, and a rich person will get old, and the body will give all kinds of pain when old age comes. This is falling apart. So, especially those who've gotten old now and they have wealth, they'll tell you if they really want to speak honestly. They'll tell you the money is there. A good bit of the money I have to spend to keep this body fit, to the extent that it wants to be fit because it's already old. And the things that I used to enjoy that was young when I was younger, I thought that I'll have more time when I'm retired to enjoy those things. I'm not able to. Why? Because my body won't let me. It's too old, and it's not able to do what it used to do when I was younger. So that's the mockery of life. You see, thinking you're going to enjoy when you have money and when you have time, but the body says, nope, I can't let you because I'm falling apart. Take me to the hospital instead. And pain and pain and pain, and everybody, from children all the way up to adults, goes through disease. So this material world is actually set up in such a way that we will try to control the material nature, but we're not going to be able to. Intelligent people realize we're not able to. And so this whole idea of us being able to be the controllers rather than serve Krishna, who is the controller, is actually going to fall apart here in the material world. And the best thing to do is get out and go back to the situation in the spiritual world, because the situation in the spiritual world is loving, it's blissful, and there are no taxation responsibilities and other ways to live, and there's no old age, there's no disease. The very things that make our life miserable, they're all absent in the spiritual world. So that's where we need to be. When we worship in the personal form of a deity, it's because we're fortunate enough to have it explained to us by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, and we should be very grateful to him. In this world, we may take this worship of the personal deity, personal form of the deity, as just a thing to do based on how we were raised. But there are so many people speculating about the Virat Rupa, and they don't worship the personal form of the deity. Hmm? Srila Prabhupada explained in a lecture in Los Angeles, 1975, that the atheists will tell us, devotees, when we worship a deity, that we are worshiping some idol. Some of the even religionists say that. But that's not a fact. Why? They themselves don't know Krishna personally. Krishna is accepting devotional service from devotees in a manner which is possible for us to do it. We have limited senses. Now, there's the Virat Rupa. So one may have heard about it, but then look at Virat Rupa compared to the deity. If Krishna shows us the Virat Rupa, we have to have special eyes to see. He had to give Arjuna special eyes to see the Virat Rupa. Not everybody in the Battle of Kurukshetra saw the Virat Rupa. So if Krishna shows us the Virat Rupa without the eyes to see, we cannot see him and we cannot serve him. Now, if you're a pujari, you know that the deities get dressed. But even if you're not a pujari and you come to the temple, when it's artik time and the curtain is open, the altar is becomes is open, and then you see the deities, you see that they are dressed very nicely. Now, Srila Prabhupada made the point here. The Virat Rupa is so huge. Where would I get, or where will we get the fabric that will be able to dress the Virat Rupa? He said the whole world's cloth factory will fail you. We won't be able to. So Krishna is accepted as a small deity. In some places it's 2 feet, some places it's 4 feet, in some places a little bigger, so that we can acquire the dress that is possible, the fabric that's possible to make the dress that will fit Krishna. But that is Krishna himself. So Krishna has made it possible for us to serve him within our means. And that is Krishna's mercy. That is his mercy. And sometimes some people, Sri Prabhupada calls them rascals, they think that the Vishnu form is just wood or stone, and we're worshiping wood and worshiping stone. That's why they call us worshiping idols. They don't understand that it is Krishna himself that has come in that form so that our eyes, as limited as they are, and our other senses, as limited as they are, will still be used. And it will be possible to still use those senses in serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We have to develop love for the Lord. So the Lord has done it this way. Krishna has very kindly showed us a favor. He has come in that form, but he is Krishna. He's not stone. Even if it looks to us like stone, that is also Krishna, because there really isn't anything else but Krishna. Without Krishna, there is no existence. So Krishna has got the power, even in his so-called shape of the stone, he still can accept our service. So that is Krishna. We have to understand these things, and we want to understand properly what is Krishna. Then this much qualification, that consciousness that we just described, will make us fit for being liberated in this life. Because that says, Janma Karma Chame Divyam Yo Janati Tatpata Chaktadeham Punay Janma Naiti Mameti So Arjuna or Konteya. It's all stated there in Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, text 9. He says, my birth, and my activities are all transcendental. And one who understands it that way will not take birth here. So, since his appearance in the temples as a deity and his activities are all transcendental, if we believe it that way and not look at it from a material standpoint, then we are ready to go back. Hmm? And the deities and the size of the deities are just to allow us to be able to serve him in the most intimate of ways, that is, cook for him, do artik to him, clothe him, and basically he doesn't do anything so that we can have the maximum spiritual credits for giving service to the Lord. And so that is our situation. For a devotee, the Lord, in his two-handed form, is mercy for us. And for this philosopher that's speculating, they would look at just the planets and the form of the planets and say that that is God in that way. But that's just the Virat Rupa. It's an imaginary form. The reality is that those planets are what are there, and the shape of those planets is what they come to, the conclusion that it is, in fact, the form of the Lord. And that's what they want to worship. But the Lord is very personal. And so by devotional service, we have to keep worshiping the Lord and relate well to each other, because that's life in the spiritual world also. We have to learn to relate well to each other. And that way we'll be able to go back into our original constitutional position and lifestyle, which is totally blissful. Shira Prabhupada ki jai. So thank you very much for coming, for hearing this. And now, if you want to ask a question, if you want to share some realization, you can do so now. Shreya Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare
Thank you for
Krishna.
the wonderful class.
Krishna's mercy, Guru's mercy. Go ahead.
You touched upon a very practical point that what happens to people who are dishonest? So,
Ah,
did I
mhm.
understand correctly? Are they sent to another planet which is lower than the Bhuloka?
What happens when a person who is, well, we told we should be honest, but dishonest people are the people who really don't care about using lies as part of their lives to manipulate people. Yeah, there is a planet, I forget the name, but towards the end of the fifth canto in Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukadeva Goswami describes a particular planet and even what happens, the kind of punishment that happens to those, or that occurs to those who are in that, yeah, live that kind of mindset of lying. Yes, there is. So we've got to deal straight and straightforward in our activities. Now, um, we got to be careful not to get to a planet like that by just basically purifying ourselves by living according to the instructions, so we don't have to deal with that kind of situation. Hare Krishna. It is a sober warning, I know, but we got to be careful. We just have to. There is mercy. The devotees have so much in terms of mercy that's given by Krishna, but you got to also know that the hellish planets are there, and we don't have much control when it comes to the time for us to leave our bodies as to where we will be taken. We want to go back home. And so the process we're living now is a process that we have to take our purification instruction seriously, so we don't even wind up in a place like that kind of planet where we'll spend some time going through some punishment only because we were not being honest. The devotee Gogovina Maharaj, and I know I have a couple of devotees have their hands up, but I just want to make that one point. Gogovina Maharaj, one of our stalwart leaders and gurus in ISKCON, who's also left his body, he made the point in a lecture that yes, we are in Kali Yuga. And Kali Yuga, all kinds of faults are here. But just because we are in Kali Yuga as devotees does not mean that we have to live a Kali Yuga lifestyle. That's the point he made. He says, we have to live like Satya Yuga, the golden age in the material world. In the golden age, people were in the mode of goodness, not doing things that are, in the mode of ignorance, things that are harmful to themselves or harmful to others. So, yes, this is a process of purification. The good thing about devotees are if we are in that, we got some things to get purified. That is, maybe even some of us are not honest all the time. And sometimes we just sneak something that is dishonest and so on. We got to understand that this is no way to live. It's two ways. You either tell the truth or you keep quiet. Those are the two things. You either zero or tell the truth. Not a zero or plus. Plus is telling the truth. Minus is telling a lie. That is important for us to be aware of. So if we're that way and we make it a point not to be dishonest, then we will also get the mercy. That's always there. We get the mercy of the Lord, that we will be forgiven for some of the things that we've done that's wrong. And we have an opportunity now to go to the spiritual world. There's so much mercy built in, but we know I've got 2 more questions to come, so maybe we have time. We will actually delve into that a little more because there's a little more to say about it. Jackie Mataji, please unmute yourself, and then after that, dear Krishna. Okay, go ahead, Jackie.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Shiva Prabhupada. You mentioned having enthusiasm and patience when it comes to devotional service. So
yes.
That enthusiasm that also applies to when it comes to the study groups and the readings.
Oh yeah. Go ahead and finish your question.
That's it basically. Although sometimes it takes me a while to even formulate a question when I hear this information. It takes a while. Is it normal? It just takes a while. That's my question, Prabhu. Thank you.
We are encouraged to ask questions because when you ask questions, then the person who's speaking can answer so there's a little more clarity. But sometimes it's also good to hear questions that are asked by other devotees because that also brings clarity to everybody that's listening. So it is not compulsory that you ask a question, but it is helpful to our understanding of devotional life the more questions we ask. So we're saying that to say that don't feel that something is wrong because you couldn't formulate the question just yet. Krishna will actually help you to come up with some questions if there's a need to ask, because in your mind something won't be clear yet. And so then you would need, if that situation, you feel something is not clear yet in your mind, then it means that the question is necessary. And one thing that's good though is that I don't know of anybody that is speaking or preaching that would require you to ask a question in a certain way. Do the best that you can, to bring out the question. In whatever words that you can use, just don't use words that are like cuss words and those things. People don't, because we're in the mode of goodness here at the very least. But ask it as best that you can. There's no requirement, when it comes to ask questions, to do it in a particular way. So don't worry about having the need to kind of formulate first. Just pray to the Lord, and then the way it comes out, the Lord actually will help you to have the question come up. And then you'll benefit from the answer. And actually, everybody listening will benefit also. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Jackie. Okay.
Haribo.
Haribo. Dear Krishna Prabhu, please unmute yourself. Dear Krishna Prabhu, your hands are up. Okay. All
Hare
right.
Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble wishes. All Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful class. Very, very nice points.
Krishna's
Just
mercy.
wanted to Just wanted to say thanks for reminding about how fortunate we are to be part of this movement, because, like you said, this Golok Vrindavan is not revealed in any other yuga, not even in other Kali Yuga. Only this is the special Kali Yuga when Bhagwan Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears in one day of Brahma. A very, very special opportunity. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you for bringing it up also, stressing the fact that Golok Vrindavan is not always, it's always there, but it's not always made available for the devotees to go. And when it's not made available, they're not being preached. It's not preached about. All the other Vaikuntha planets I've talked about, people can go to Vaikuntha, but not that particular loka. Until, as Dev announced, one of the 1,000 Kali Yugas in Lord Brahma's day, then it gets revealed. And how to get there also gets revealed. And we are in that situation, and not only that, we've given so much mercy that the effort that it takes to go to Golok Vrindavan, that effort has been kind of reduced. It's like going to Golok Vrindavan, the requirements are on sale now. You have to put in less effort than they used to be. For example, and that's one of them, is a Vaishnava has to chant a total of 64 rounds of japa every day to be able to be qualified to go. Srila Prabhupada has got 3/4 of it off down to the minimum. 48 of it's been removed, and now we can chant 16 rounds and still be able to qualify to go to qualify for the mercy to go back to a planet that important and that versatile and the most enjoyable one. So we got to take advantage of it. Without a doubt, we should. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Dear Krishna Prabhu. Bhakta Devya, please unmute.
Hare Krishna, please accept my
Hare Krishna, accept my
So we're talking about Kali Yuga a little bit, and the age of quarrel. So something I noticed going through like the holiday season and stuff is the quarreling. How do we avoid quarreling in our relations, and how do we tolerate quarreling among others around us? What should be our mood, or what actions can we take to endure
very important question. So as I said earlier, Gogovina Maharaj had told us that we shouldn't live in the Kali Yuga lifestyle. Kali Yuga lifestyle is the age of quarrel and quarreling and disputes and so on. But one, everybody, that's the concept we should have is everybody that's a conditioned soul has a higher nature and a lower nature. There's a good part of the person and a part that's not so great. That's there. Now, in order to be avoiding quarreling and so on, two things are there: patience and tolerance. Patience and tolerance. It's interesting that Lord Chaitanya said that to chant effectively, we have to be tolerant like a tree, and we have to be humble like a blade of grass. And the examples that he's given are examples that will help us to get the proper mindset to deal with our lives. And it will automatically take us away from having to be, quarrelsome. Now, practically though, one of the things we can do is when somebody is getting into a quarreling mood, it doesn't take, obviously it takes two people to quarrel. One person cannot quarrel with themselves. So the other person, what you can do is, one, remind your own self that if I respond, and I know I'm kind of ruffling my feathers here based on what I'm hearing the other person saying, but if I respond, it's only going to drag things further, and maybe some words will be exchanged that maybe both of us will regret in the end. And to stop something of that nature, it only takes one person to do it. And we should be that person. In other words, there are some things that you have to learn to hear, but not respond to it. Negative, but not respond to it. That's called tolerance. Is it easier said than done? That's true. It's easier said than done, but everything takes practice. Everything takes practice. So you will hear some things that may, not sit well with you, and you may want to respond to it. But then if our intelligence kicks in and say they will only worsen the matters, you can make a note of what's been said. That is good to make, to do. Make a note of what's been said. And because the mood is a mood that is kind of funky at the time, you respond to it, it's going to get worse. So you just decide not to respond to it yet, but you can make a note of it and bring it up another time when the person is calm and just not in an accusing mode that you said this, you said it. No, you have your answer to it, and you say your answer in a not forceful tone, but a calm tone, and explain yourself. Another time, not when the time that the person, everybody's hot with the emotions. The emotions are hot. No, that's not the time to talk. So we have to. This is where we have to learn. We have to learn to put on the brakes when somebody goes off. Hear what they say, don't respond to it, because if you don't respond to it, then whatever it is, it's going to end quickly. It's when you respond that somebody else, the person just hits back and then he goes on, and then it sometimes gets out of hand. So if we don't respond to it, that's patience on our part, and also tolerance. But it does not mean that the matter can't be discussed. It can be discussed later when the tempers are kind of down and things are explained, and especially also the other thing that comes with it, you have to learn to summarize everything. If you're going to respond later on, even what you're going to say, you have to say it in a few short sentences and be done with it. Because if you're responding and the person is still thinking that, yeah, but my point is my point and your point is a different point and you're responding to it, and I don't really quite agree with you. So if you stretch what you're going to respond to, like you're teaching the person one thing, all you're going to do is just arouse their anger again. And then here we go, part two of the same problem. So it's got to be said in a few short sentences. And actually, my Gumaj, like Maharaj, advises this. Say what you have to say later on when the person is calm, later on, in a few short sentences, and don't physically stand there. Say it and walk away. When the person can't see you, it's unlikely that they're going to start a thing with you, another thing with you. So those are some of the actual practical things that you can do to deal with disputes when they come up. And then there are others too. You just think, all right, I know they made this point. Maybe they're right. Let me look at look at it from their standpoint and see if I can make some changes in my own life to accommodate that. We are not always right. Sometimes the other person is also right. So all of those need to be taken into consideration. And in practicing that, you get to a point where you become quite tolerant and patient. Hare Krishna. But that's a very good question, though, you brought up. It takes practice. Hare Krishna. Any other?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, down, down. Except on holy basis, glory to Prabhupada.
All glories to the devotees on the call.
Jai.
So, yeah, very nice class. I actually liked the point where you said, like, that we spend, like, whatever we earn, we later on spend on our health issues. Uh,
Make it
I,
older, yeah.
yeah, I remembered one of the points from the classes I heard previously. So class the devotee explains how, like, he says, like, in the scriptures it is said that when the grihastha can spend like 8 hours, 8 to 9 hours earning his livelihood, uh, business, job, whatever it is. Beyond that, if we put lot more efforts, like, we are working for 10, 15 hours, 20 hours, whatever, the whatever is excess will always be taken away in some form. It will be like, of course, health crisis is one of them. Then you will have some issues. Of course, government is always there, taxes are there, this and that. So you will always get the quota that is being kept for you. Beyond that, it will always like, being taken away in some form of, he explains that. And like, so whatever we can, like, get in those 8 to 9 hours and do intelligently, like, he says, whatever we do, we can be intelligent, like, we can do more in those 8 hours, 9 hours, and try to get more. But beyond that, striving for more and more, he says, like, it is just going to go in, like, go away some or the other, like, in the other form. Then the second point you just talked about, for Xavier Prabhu's uh,
Question.
question. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is really nice way, actually, because many times, even, like, I have seen in my life, like, when the moods are like very, like, temperaments are high,
Yeah.
when fight or whatever is going on, or disagreement is going on, if we just, like, keep on saying, or keep on pushing things, the relations go sour. So it's better, once, at least one side should pause out, and then, later on we maybe talk and, calm things down. So
Yeah.
that, those were the 2 points I like. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. It boils down to this, especially when it comes to disputes. If you really live life such that there's a certain way of more goodness life we have to do, we'll just talk about that. And once you have that understanding, you will hardly get into any disputes. It's like the argument time is going to be drastically reduced. And here's what it is. We should appreciate the strengths of the people that we are with or we relate to, the positive side, the higher nature, the strength of it. And I'll give an example from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, in dealing with the situation. But before this, we should appreciate their strengths. And the other side, that is a lower nature, we have to have the understanding that the person is a conditioned soul, and all conditioned soul, including us, we also have a lower nature. Therefore, when that lower nature comes out, we shouldn't be surprised. Sometimes it throws us off and then it just rouses our temper and then we want to respond to it. We should appreciate the higher nature of that person. And the way we can appreciate it, not only mentally, we can also tell them sometimes that you do such nice things for me or do such nice things for the devotees. Then they feel good about themselves because they're being appreciated. And that strengthens the relationship. And when the relationship is strengthened, it automatically reduces the chances for us to be in conflict and try or get into arguments and so on. So appreciation of our good nature and everything good about us, appreciation of the other person's good, that's very, very helpful. And the negative part, you don't spend spend too much time talking about that. In fact, it's best not to talk about it at all. When we actually have practiced properly to that point of being in more goodness, we don't even mention the things that are negative. Now, if it really, really is important and it gets to you, it gets to your skin, something that's negative, then there has to be a discussion about it. There has to be a discussion. We already talked about what should be done. You say things very, very, very short. Get to the point, say it short, be finished, and better yet, after that, you just leave. Yeah, so the person doesn't start an argument with you. I mentioned Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur as an example. All right, so there was a disciple of his, of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that came to him complaining about another devotee. that was, getting to his skin so much. So he started talking about those things that were bothering him about the other devotee. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, he listened quietly. And when the devotee was finished with all his complaints about this other devotee, then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj, the guru, asked him, so are there any good aspect of this person's character or some of the things that he does that you know of? Is there anything good about him? So this devotee was kind of surprised that Guru asked, but Guru has asked, you have to answer. So he thought for a moment and he says, yes, Maharaj, actually that devotee plays very nice mridanga. That's what came to his mind. So that's what he said. He plays very nice mridanga. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj said to him, how come you didn't say that first? And of course, the devotee couldn't answer. But the point that Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj was making to him was that we should spend more time mentally appreciating the positive among our, the assembly of devotees, among those we associate with. Appreciate the positive part of it. If we talk about the negative too much, then we become, especially if we talk about negative things to somebody else, then we become gossipers. And now it's going to go against us because that's not parat, that's an offense. So yeah, it's all the problem. We're all growing, getting purification from everything that we discuss here, including myself. So that's what we have to do. Hare Krishna. Any final points, questions? If not, then thank you very much for all of you coming on today, to hear and also have discussion. Nice Krishna Katha. So have a nice rest of your week. Kanchakapatru Vishya Kripa Sundhi Vacha Patitano Pavanevyu Vaishnavevyu Namo Namaha. Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Glory to Shila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Glory to Shila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Shane's left a message. Thank you for the wonderful class. Glory to Guru and Guranga. Jai. Hare Krishna.